And let's talk about our favourite German, Timo Werner. I'm low key starting to fall in love with this guy a little bit. Maybe not because of his out and out football quality, but I think he brings certain aspects to the team. I think he's fitted in so well to the team as well. 15 million, I think it is the clause to buy him in the summer. With what he's shown so far, I think on the weekend he was probably our most dangerous player in that front line. He gets the ball on the deck, burns down that left-hand side, burns his man and gets the ball in the box. You know, that chance for Brennan you're talking about, the own goal chance as well, and I think there was one in the second half as well.
Correct, yeah.
Ash, would you take the option to sign him permanently this summer? So
it depends on what do you want from your front three. If you want it to be a system where we're using wingers, and when I say wingers, I mean just go down the line and assist, put a ball into the box, then you might have a case for Werner, because I think that's where his strengths lie. If you're asking for your front three to contribute in terms of goals, that's where my questions start to lie, in my opinion. I think Johnny brought up earlier saying how, you know, he thinks Son's better out on the left. You put Werner in the central area, you know, most fans...
No. We don't want that. We don't want that.
and so that's where we're at with Werner. Like, that's why I'm like, could we do better? I think we could, because how old is he? Is he 28 or 29?
Just 28. Literally just 28.
He just turned 28.
Yeah.
Some may argue, is he a player for now? Because at 28, you're saying, look, people are saying, you know, Son's slowing down. He's 31, right? I'd admit that Werner looks like he's in good shape. He's looking after himself. He's a top professional, and the game has changed. So to say that, you know, he's only got, you know, 2 or 3 years left at this level would be a disservice to see what's happening with players at the moment. But I still think you may lose a little bit of pace. And if you lose a little bit of pace from Werner 2 to 3 years from now, like, do we need to, is that a wise investment? And I think that's how the club are looking at some of the future players, because a lot of fans want to get players that are ready now, but you do have to look, are we going to be ready in 3 or 4 years time, 5 years time? You need to look further along. So that's where my question lies with him. Like, as a footballer, if he loses his legs, what does he offer? What can he bring to the table? A bit like Son. Now you can see with Son, some people are saying he's losing his legs, but like, quality-wise, you can say, look, he's a top finisher. If he gets in the right position, if he improves on his movement and his hold-up play, Son, and I don't think Son's hold-up play is bad either, or I don't think his movement's terrible either. I think it can be improved, don't get me wrong, but I think those attributes are still decent. And you see it with players like when Rooney started to lose. Well, Rooney wasn't really pacey, was he? But Kane, for example, when Kane started to lose his legs, nobody cared, because that wasn't really a big part of his game. It was all about his techers. Do you know what I'm saying? That is the only problem with Werner now. If you put someone in that squad, and we're talking about the top teams, this is what the question is. The top teams, can he do it when it matters? Against those top 4, those top 6, nobody knows yet, because he hasn't faced that. We haven't crossed that bridge yet. I do hear people's point, though, because the point is he is contributing against the lesser sides, and that's what gets points on the table. So as a player, you want consistency. Is he consistent at the moment? He is. He is consistently getting down that byline and getting that ball into the box.
With his weaker foot.
And this, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you brought up that, because when it does come to, I don't understand, like, why do you not shoot with your stronger foot? There's so many times he's been 1v1 and he shoots with his weaker foot, and guess what? It goes wide. Why was it that time he had the chance to hit out on his right and he cuts back onto his weaker foot? And as decision making like that, which frustrates me as a fan. I don't know about the rest of the fan base. And that's the reason why I'm like, could we do better than Werner? Could we get a player that everyone's saying squad player be good for a squad depth, etc., etc. I hear it, but at the same time, we could get a player that's better than Werner that could finish in that front three. So it depends what you want. If you want a winger, sign Werner. If you want a wide forward and inside forwards that gets us goals and that can help us push on for future seasons, then I would say, you know what, I'll probably leave it because Spurs always do the cheaper. Why do we always do it cheaper? And we've already got Johnson that has that kind of profile. He's already an out and out on the outside type of winger. And I feel like Johnson has played up front for Forest, was scoring the goals, was a slow burner at Forest as well, and then come into his own later on into his Forest career. Johnson's got a higher ceiling, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know. But time
He
will tell
does.
on it.
He does. But I think it's clear to say that Timo Werner is not the be all and end all and not the answer to all our problems. I think that's clear for everyone to see. But I think when you're looking at an option for 15 million and when you're looking at the holes in this squad, when you're looking at this sum, let's say Timo Werner's not a Spurs player, right? You got Brian Hill, not good enough. He needs to go. Manor Solomon, what's happening with him? Is he even good enough? Is he going to be fit? Is he going to keep having these recurring injuries? I mean, we haven't seen him since October, November time, which is mad. So what's happening with Manor Solomon? For me personally, Sonny needs to stay in the number 9. He's the most clinical finisher we have at the football club. So that leaves us with no left wingers. So we need to bring in at least 2 this summer, in my opinion. And if Timo Werner comes in as the filler, as the squad option, and then we bring in someone like a Nico Williams or someone else that has a much higher caliber and a much higher ceiling, then I would be absolutely loving those 2 options on that left-hand side. And if we had a Nico Williams style and Timo Werner on the left, I think that's perfect options to go into next season with. And I think Timo Werner has earned that from what he's shown so far in a Spurs shirt. Where are you at with it, Johnny?
It was quite interesting actually when we signed him. I spoke to Chelsea fans who I know, and the interesting thing, not one had a bad word to say about him. Not one, right? Interesting, right? They all liked him. They all respected him. They all thought he was a good player, and I think there's a narrative at the club already about Timo. The guy's won the Champions League. He's done it all. He's played in Champions League games. He's played in Germany. He's played as an international.
He's won the Champions League.
Correct. I was getting to that, but he's also, the thing is, he has something that a lot of this team don't have. Great experience, and we need experience. I think he's a really good member of the squad. I think he's adapted to Ange ball extremely quickly. He's following his instructions, not playing his normal game. As I say, driving down. The only thing he does like to play high up the pitch, which he's doing. He has been tracking back when possible, but I don't think that you can argue with keeping him. Look, I believe that we need to get rid of about 6 or 7 players this year. Go through them. There's 6 or 7 players. How are we going to get rid of them? I don't know. Who wants them? I don't know. But this is a squad game. I keep hearing, we'll never make our first 11. This isn't about first 11. What do you do if Son gets injured? What do you do if this one gets injured, right? I'm sorry. I don't have a single problem with him. He's got what Ange wants, pace. He's got a great football brain. Unfortunately, he has the ick when it comes to seeing the goal. He goes into like almost a meltdown, but I think he'll come round. I really do think he will come round, and I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. And the interesting thing is, with Ange ball, the amount of link-up play between Brennan Johnson and Timo is quite amazing, really, because they've only been there since January together, and yet look how many times Timo is crossing, Werner's coming in, Werner's crossing, Timo's coming in, right? And they've linked up for goals, they've linked up for assists. There nearly was one on Saturday. So there's an understanding going on there. There isn't quite yet an understanding between Timo and Destiny. Destiny's not releasing Timo when he should, and vice versa. But I think that will come in time. I think it was a big hint when Spurs announced the tour of Australia and said that everyone will be going apart from Timo, who's getting married. They didn't say everyone apart from Timo, who's on loan and won't be staying with us. So I think that's an indication potentially that he's going to stay. I think it's a no-brainer for 15 million. You know, when you look at Brian Gill for 25 and Lamella, you know, what do you get? You get a three-quarters Joe Rodon for 15 million. I mean, I don't know what do you buy for 15 million? Not a lot. Some are saying that, oh yeah, but I don't want it to stop us getting another player. 15 million's not going to stop us getting another player. The only thing I would say is he will have to align his wage demands. We cut our wage bill hugely since those results with our wages included Kane, Perisic, Lloris. We don't want 170 grand a week players now. Cut your. You want to establish yourself? Cut it. I think at 28, Ash, you know, I hear what you're saying. He's not a Teddy Sheringham who was never quick, and you know he could still play at 34. You know, spraying balls all over the place. But I think he's an intelligent player, and you know, I'd offer him a 3-year contract personally.
Yeah, I agree. Sim, where you at with it?
Yeah, look, obviously when he first signed, I was very conflicted about whether we would ever sign him permanently. I really wanted it to work. And I think it's probably gone as well as we could have hoped, I think, in terms of how he's performed consistently, him doing exactly what Ange wants him to do. I think you both make a great point when it comes to, I think, in terms of the money being spent on him, and 15 million in this market won't get you anyone better than Timo Werner. Timo Werner is probably the top of that market when you talk about a price. But I guess the counter argument would be, should we be looking to spend more than 15 million on a player in that kind of position rather than just going for the cheap option?
Get you a Harry Maguire.
No, well, definitely not. Doesn't get Harry Maguire's left leg in this current market. I think the counter argument to be, should we spend 15 million on him because it's so cheap? You know, why you can't really go wrong. The counter argument would be, well, if we're looking to upgrade in that position, we're looking to sign someone in that position, we should be looking to spend 50 million, not 15 million. We shouldn't be going for a cheap option just because Timo's available. We should be going for someone who can take us to the next level. Does Timo Werner represent that? I think we can all agree that Timo Werner shouldn't be signed as our starting winger for next season. I think that's probably the consensus. I think for among the panel, he's not the winger we should be signing because we believe he's the guy that can help us compete with Man City as our starting winger. But I think as a bench option, someone who can play in those Champions League games as well, hopefully next season if we're in the Champions League, someone who can come in seamlessly in that position for 15 million, and if he can play as consistently this next season as he is this, I think it is a bit of a no-brainer at that kind of price as a squad option. I kind of, when I think about Timo Werner, I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Moneyball? Like there's a scene that sticks in my mind. Like they're talking about with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's talking. They're scouting a player who's like really cheap. Brad Pitt's talking to the scouts, and the scouts are saying, well, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, and Brad Pitt's like, well, you know what he does do? He gets on base. That's what he does, and that's why we're getting him. And I feel like Andrew would be saying, people would be saying to Andrew, you know what? He doesn't score these goals, doesn't have these fancy skills, but Andrew saying, but you know what he does do? He gets to the byline. He gets to the byline every single time. And he gets the ball in the box. That's all he needs to do. He doesn't need fancy skills. He doesn't need world-class finishes. What he needs to do is he needs to get to that byline and put it in the box. And he does it time and time again. And what's really encouraging is his quality's been improving. Like the delivery, like week on week, he's been getting better and better delivery and more consistent. And as you said, Johnny, on the weekend, he put 3 beautiful balls across the face of goal. That's exactly all he needs to do. That's all he needs to do. So the only one thing I do slightly worry about, though, which hasn't really been mentioned, is he is playing for a contract at the moment. He is obviously looking to impress. I don't doubt that he's a player who's a hard worker. As you said, Johnny, all the Chelsea fans don't have a bad word to say about him, and that's true. All the Chelsea fans I've spoken to love him. But is there a slight concern that he is upping his game right now as he looks for a contract, and when he does earn that contract, will that performance level drop any ever so slightly?
I think he's under contract. Listen, I think he's under contract. already. So at Leipzig, so I don't think it's a problem. I will say that Ange has made it very clear, that number one target is a winger. So more so than a number 9. So I don't think that Timo, even if he's signed, is going to be the only acquisition. I mean, you saw Morgan Gibbs-White yesterday or on Sunday. Was it a good audition? I don't know. I personally, for me, I'd love to see Nico Williams at the club. For me, that would be the one. But I don't think that it's going to be our only acquisition. And as I said, I think squad numbers, we got a lot to get rid of, and we got a lot to acquire. I could see maybe 5-6 players coming in potentially this season.
Johnny, do you, if he was our only option that we bought in, would you still have that same energy?
I would tell you that would really much depend, Ash. Right, I've got to be honest. If we were going to sign another 9 to back up Richie, and we bought a backup left back, left centre back. We need a 6, and by God, if we get rid of Gio, we need another creative midfielder, right? You cannot rely on James Maddison. Look, we played the least amount of games in 19 years, right? Okay, and we're knackered. I mean, explain this to me, right? I just don't get it, right? If you think I want to go into the season with potentially 50, 55 potential games, 50 plus, with James Maddison, 1 left back, no, and without getting number 6. So for me, I would accept it if we got the 3 or 4 positions that we desperately need. I don't know what positions you guys think we desperately need.
Yeah, I think we need all over the pitch, to be honest. Left back, right back, centre back,
keeper.
Right wing, left wing, keeper. We need
a whole new 11.
All over, 6. So
that's why you said 3 windows, right?
Yeah, I guess. There's a super chat here from the Joracle, and he says Timo is famous for missing sitters but he is world class at creating sitter situations. 50 to 70 million quality in every regard except scoring goals. For 50 million, willing to play as a squad player. Big up, guys. Hashtag Timo in. And I completely agree with that. But like Sim said, if he comes in as a starting left winger, then I don't think that's on, and that's not what we need. We need him and another one to come in to combat him for sure.